wasn't it?
Going live. That's what I said last time. I said it was like going live. No, what going live is. You've seen the film One Day, haven't you?
Yeah, some guy I used to know was in it, but I've not seen him in years.
So that the TV show that they made on that was called Going Live.
Okay.
Which was a send up of Live and Kicking, or some evening show like TGI Friday. Is it TGI Fridays?
Possibly.
What was the show with Chris Evans?
Got the live stream up.
There we go. On your pad.
Yeah, it's working. The show with Chris Evans.
It's TGI Friday, wasn't it?
TFI Friday.
TFI.
TFI Friday.
Thank fuck it's Friday. Oh no, sorry, I can't swear.
No, we're a live stream. You can't swear. Come on. Right. Okay, let's close that down. Don't need that anymore.
So what did the F stand for then?
I don't know. There was like this whole thing where they said what it stood for, but I think it was all bullshit. Yeah.
I'm gonna have to Google it now. I want to know what TFI Friday stood for.
Hello, live stream.
I am just filling in the gap, so you know.
Yeah, it's fine. So yes, welcome to the live stream. Please keep in mind that this is a live stream. So if Carl swears, sorry. He tries not to, but I'll probably swear as well because I get quite animated sometimes. But we try not to swear, so we do apologise in advance. If you're watching the live stream and you get offended by our swearing, then sorry. We will try not to. If you want to follow our podcast, we are at Monkeyseat Pod. And just follow us on all your major podcasting platforms, and you'll catch a much more edited and slick version of the podcast.
Who's going to watch this and then go onto the podcast?
Well, you never know. They might think, well, this is a bit crap, isn't it? And then they think, oh, maybe if it's just an audio version might be better. So you never know.
You get more here. Okay, fine. You probably get... Anyway, TFI Friday, for those that don't know, thank for it's Friday. Was it on at 4:00?
Yeah, I seem to remember it being some kind of random word.
Tom is lagging there, so you probably missed a bit of a lag.
Possibly.
So there we go.
I suppose what doesn't happen is having the live stream open on the tablet. That's probably going to make it worse, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That probably isn't helping any situation when your missus is upstairs.
Yeah.
That sounded really dodgy then. I was about to go, well, your missus is upstairs chatting to some random important people, but...
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's fine. We won't go into that.
What, the important people she talks to?
Yeah.
I wonder who she's talking to.
I know who she's talking to, but I can't say. No, it's not Boris Johnson. Cool, right,
it's not the Queen. She's a bit upset at the moment.
Yeah. She might be talking to...
Well, maybe it's Toto Wolff. Maybe she's talking to Toto Wolff
Could be.
about a certain somebody.
Right, this is really professional. I haven't actually tested the audio levels yet. So,
wow.
Oh, and I'm not even sharing the audio either because we had to reboot the...
Wow, Tom, you're failing.
Yeah, I know. We had to reboot the Zoom just before we started the stream. So everything I'd set up is now gone. So hopefully you should hear the audio now. Just let me know you can hear this. All good?
Yeah.
Excellent. That's good. Yep. Great. Okay. So should we start the podcast?
Do we have to?
It's probably a good idea. It's going to be quite a short one though, because we're not going to bother talking about
famous
IndyCar,
last words. Famous last and words. I suppose we've only got one race to worry about this week.
Yeah. Right. I'm going to start the title sequence.
Okay.
I do love this.
Yeah, but we still need either some Formula E in here or Extreme E or something.
Yeah, I'll put some in.
It's very petrol driven.
Yeah. I will put something in there at some point. What do you think of this, YouTube? Let us know what you think.
It's definitely better than the last one.
Oh, God! Michael Schumacher hits David.
Oh, poor Murray.
He's staying in there.
George Russell's not the Formula 1 champion. We'll give you that one.
Here we go. Let's start. Welcome to the Monkey Seat. We're just here for a chat, but we will take out legal action if you don't agree with us. My name is Tom.
And I'm Carl, who wonders which Irish leprechaun Hamilton has been bribing, and can he pass on his number?
We are a fully independent podcast hosted by two opinionated friends who like to put the world to rights.
You can find us on all major podcasting platforms by searching for Monkeyseat podcast, remembering to add the podcast.
Yes, you can leave us a 5-star review to get a shout out on the show, or you can visit our website, monkeyseatpod.com.
And you've stolen my saying there, but you can follow us on all the socials at Monkeyseat Pod. There's a visit on YouTube channels and catch up with us on LinkedIn. We even have LinkedIn. If you want to sponsor us and give us a load of money or whatever, you get. To be honest, I'm not fussed about the money. I still haven't emailed them.
Oh, you need to email them.
One job, and I still haven't
Come on.
emailed. We've got someone that's going to sponsor us with love of some sort, but I still haven't done anything about it.
Just basically a product as a prize for something. So,
which we're not sure what we're to do with. Once we get the prize, we'll try and work out what we're going to do with it, because it's the most random thing in the world.
Yeah.
And
we're certainly not going to consume it, put it that way.
No. Well, I might, but if I consume it, I will be off the... I will be bouncing.
Yeah.
So, as you noticed, we actually... Tom, you can tell, I actually submitted my book this week. The first few chapters. Well, the first few chapters. So I'm in this competition with me and my friend. Basically, at Valentine's Day, found that we had to write a writing competition. Had found a writing competition that we could enter. Jokingly put something in. It was 1,000 words. We just sort of threw something together and threw it in, and then we got through to the second round. So then then we're like, we've got like a whole month. It's fine. And then yesterday we were still beavering away trying to work out how everything's going to work. Nothing like last chance, but as you can tell, where the point of this is going is that Tom instead of rewriting everything, just swapped our names around.
Pretty much.
That's what you do.
That's how writing works. It's plagiarism.
Just swapping
we've written stuff together before, though. You know how I work.
I know. Well, it's actually the same. And we did it on this book, and I know this is nothing about Formula 1, but when we did our play, do you remember we took the whole of Act 1 and moved it into Act 2?
Yep.
Vice versa.
That's going down there now. That works better there.
Anyway, that's enough about writing. So I'd like to make a formal apology now.
Really? Mostly
because I said Imola is the most boring track and nothing happens. And it'd be a really boring race. And I think I even said this last week. I went, this is going to be boring.
Yeah, it wasn't though, was it? It was good.
It very much was very different and very good.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know what made it good. Actually, I can tell what made it good. I think a little bit of wetness probably made it good, but I think there was a load of other sillinesses going on as well as
Should we get into the race report then?
Yeah, go on then.
This is going to be a challenge to get this in 2 minutes. Let's see if we can do it.
Crashback Mullet, well, a picture.
Basically,
that's pretty much it. Well, it happens, doesn't it?
Hold it, Flashburn Wallop. Whoops, that's Bottas. Spoiler alert.
Yeah. Sorry about that. Whack.
Here we go. Chaos reigned literally at the start of the Emily Roman Ciaubella Grand Prix, with cars galore spinning on the way to the grid and setting on fire. When the start finally happened, Max flew ahead of Perez and went side by side with Hamilton, causing the two to have contact, and Hamilton took to the curbs. Max pulled out a 5-second lead in almost no time at all, with Hamilton suffering with some slight damage. Cars were clearly struggling in all conditions, and Latifi was soon in the barriers after a collision with Mazepin. The resulting safety car calmed things down for a few minutes, but before the restart, Perez squirreled off track, losing 2 places, then inexplicably retook the places behind the safety car, picking up a 10-second penalty. Schumacher knocked off his front wing behind the safety car, but couldn't change it as his debris was causing the pit lane to be closed and had to drive around slowly for 2 laps. His engineer told him not to worry about driving fast though, which is probably for the best given the car he has. Norris pulled off a blinding double overtake and a subsequent pass on Gasly to take 6th, and then was allowed past his teammate for 5th as he showed superior pace. Hamilton managed to keep the gap to 5 seconds, but as the rain cleared up, he closed in for just over a second behind and looked in the ascendancy. Red Bull risked a marginal stop onto the dries as Hamilton dropped the hammer to try and overcut him. A slightly slower Mercedes stop and a blinding outlap from Max allowed him to retake the lead as they approached a gaggle of cars to lap. Max lost time passing the cars, and Lewis saw the chance to close up and threw on past Russell on the wet pile of the track. He slid off the track, through the gravel, and then knocked his front wing off trying to recover. He then reversed back onto the track half a minute behind Max and needing a new front wing, but the safety car and subsequent red flag was deployed when Russell ploughed into Bottas, trying to pass him for 9th because Bottas. The race resumed with a rolling start and everyone with new tyres and the McLarens gambling on softs. It paid dividends immediately with Norris passing Leclerc for 2nd, but Max was in a league of his own up front. Hamilton was 9th at the restart and making good progress, flying up to 5th behind the Ferraris and Norris. Leclerc used the DRS of Norris to defend well from Hamilton, but he quickly flew past him to recover to the podium, and a brave defence from Norris was eventually overturned and Hamilton completed a comeback with a so
close.
Tripped over my tongue.
So close.
Completed the comeback to 2nd, with Norris a very happy 3rd. I'm claiming that as a win. I'm sorry.
I'd say that's a win. That was more of a tongue twister at the end there.
Yeah, that was just cool. Good. Good race.
It was a good race. I mean, I don't know where really to start with this, because, like,
should we start with the start?
Okay, the 3 into the corner, that was quite good.
Yeah.
I mean, Perez screwed that up, right?
Yeah. Perez just had a terrible race all over.
Like, what was going on with Perez? I mean, such high expectations at this point and failed. Yeah. 3 abreast into there. Verstappen showing his dominance. It shows that the acceleration pace of the Red Bulls is actually faster than the Mercs.
It shows that Honda engine's got a lot of grunt.
Absolutely. But yeah, like, it was good. It was a really interesting start. I was surprised that no one went off that corner, the first corner. Everywhere it was quite clean, and weirdly, in the rain. I don't know, especially when no one could see anyone. I think what hampered Perez was that he couldn't see anything because he was behind Hamilton.
Yeah, by then he was, but he was, obviously he started with a clear field of view.
Yeah, and then went backwards.
Yeah. And then Latifi took a little trip across the gravel and then came back on track and was kind of expecting to be at the back of the field. But, oh, wait, no, there's Mazepin bringing up the rear about 5 seconds behind everyone else on that one. Be fair, no fault from Mazepin at all there. Latifi didn't know he was there. He just drove into him.
It was completely dry. It was drive road, but it wasn't deliberate. It wasn't dangerous. He wasn't trying to do it in a dangerous manner.
No, I mean, he probably could have done more to avoid it, but he it's not like he was even like partially to blame for it. I mean, he could have potentially slowed down a bit when he saw Latifi coming across. But Latifi didn't even know he was there, so it's not like he was trying to overtake him. He was just following the track, and then Latifi just wandered across onto the racing line, not even knowing he was there. But it's fine. It's still, at least we got a nice spin from him at the end anyway, just to kind of live up to his name. Yeah, and he finished the race.
And he finished a race shockingly.
One day he might finish a race actually on the lead lap. I doubt it though. Not for a while.
Yeah, him and Schumacher finished the race a lap behind.
More than a lap.
And somehow Vettel, who didn't finish the race, beat them.
Yeah, because he'd lapped them. In 23 laps, a slow Vettel had still managed to lap the Hasses. And the thing that shocked me was, like, despite Mick Schumacher spinning, losing his front wing, and then driving around, losing about 20 seconds a lap for 2 laps, was still ahead of Mazepin about 15 laps later.
I feel there must have been some other incident that happened to Mazepin that we just didn't see or notice.
Too embarrassed to keep showing him crashing all the time.
Yeah, because there must have been something. I don't know how he just ended up behind Shui.
Who knows?
When Shui was crashed out with a massive nose issue. And then carried on driving around. I don't quite understand how Mazepin was still behind him. And even when they unlapped each other, they were still 2 laps behind.
Yeah, I don't know how that works, because I think, normally what they do is they let the lap cars overtake and then catch back up to the snake in the safety car. But I suppose if you're more than 1 lap down, again, what's the point in even unlapping them? Why not just move them to the back?
Yeah. Well, I don't quite understand why they don't. Is the whole point with the engine? It's the wear on the engine of having to go around for another lap,
and the fuel as well, and
so that's why they have to go around for another lap.
Yeah, so, I mean, I suppose the difference is when you've got lapped cars in the middle of the field and you have a restart, they all get in the way of each other, and then all of a sudden it's just blue flags and it's a safety issue. So they want to kind of get them out of the way. So I suppose by making them go round to catch back up to the field again, if it doesn't matter if they're 1, 3, 5, 10 laps down, it still puts them at the back and out of the way. They can't just drop to the back because then Like the situation where you've got
this is why I can't understand. Why can't they just drop back to the back?
The reason they can't just drop to the back is I think it's, conceivably you could be in a situation like where Hamilton was. He was lapped, yet he's managed to recover the second. Yes, granted, there's a lot of luck in that, but I think just literally just dropping to the back, it seems like a big punishment, and you could be having
you were lapped
with people.
No, you were lapped at that point. So when they restart the race, 1 to 7th or wherever Hamilton ended up being, should just be racing, and then 8th, 9th, 10th, as you were behind. But you've still got to make that lap up. You've still got to lap them back, unlap yourself as a race. Because officially, if this was the real race and we hadn't got to the point of, so if this was the real race and we hadn't had that massive crash, Hamilton would have been a lap down behind, still in 8th, but a lap down behind Perret, behind whoever it was that was 7th. I don't get why we need to unlap them.
Well, again, just to get them out of the way, but
they're not in the way.
Yeah, dropping. Well, no, they are. No, they are. Because if you think about it, when you have a restart, everyone condenses up. So you've got everyone line astern. Those guys have been lapped, so they've then got to get out of the way of everyone. So you're either then getting them out of the way of everyone because they're getting blue flags, aren't they? They've got to move out of the way of them 3 turns.
Yeah, but if you start, if you had 1 to 8 that hasn't been lapped, okay, go by numbers, not by positions of where they ended up at that point of the crash. So if they go by via the number in the sense of 1 to 8, it goes up ahead. And then 9 to...
So you're saying instead of so for a red flag situation, that works, yeah. But for a safety car restart, it doesn't, because the cars are where the cars are. But for a red flag... Yeah, for a red flag, I agree. For a red flag, I agree.
Why do we unlap them on a red flag? I understand yellow flags. Do not get me wrong with the unlapping.
Yeah.
But why on a red flag where the race has stopped? The thought is, at this point, that's the end of that. Why do they then unlap them? Apart from
the only thing I can see is the engine wearing the fuel consumption.
They're still, in theory, going to have to still do an extra lap to win. Do you know, if this was the real race, they'd still be a lap behind. Yeah, I don't understand why they have to unlap them. It really winds me up.
Yeah, I don't think that it's not worth losing a lot of brain space on this one. I think what they've got works. I think what they've got works.
It doesn't, because someone that was lapped came second. How did someone that was lapped come second? That is stupid. Right, that is not winning a race. That is cheating. Legally cheating, but cheating.
So
he didn't then go, if he came from 8th and unlapped everyone, took out Perez, Norris and everyone else, absolutely I agree with that. That is the most amazing drive.
Right, but if there was a safety car or a red flag and someone was a minute ahead of the field, say, but still on the same lap, but a minute ahead of the field, if there's a safety car, they lose all of that gap. How is that fair?
Who? You're saying...
So I'm saying in a hypothetical scenario, you've got someone who's 30 seconds, a minute, whatever the gap is, they're a long way ahead of whoever's in second place, or even fifth is a long way ahead of whoever's in sixth. If you then have a safety car or a red flag or a situation like that, all that time then gets lost. So how's that fair?
I understand. I get where you're coming from there, but that is, you're stacking them up and you're holding you're holding the race at that point. But unlapping, it's slightly easier to control and easier to deal with. You don't
agree.
On a red flag. I understand where you're coming from. I absolutely do. You know, Verstappen was half a minute ahead of who was at that point? That was Lando at that point when they were racing round.
But equally, it doesn't make a huge amount of difference in this case because, yes, Hamilton had gone a lap down there, right? But he was behind Verstappen, right? He's gone off the track. It's taken him a good 30 seconds to get back on the track again. Yeah. And then he's had to go in, change his front wing, and then as a result of that, he then become a lap down.
Yeah.
So when the safety car goes past, everyone up to fourth place has still been lapped anyway. The safety car comes out. Hamilton's then still going to catch up with the train again. So it's not going to make a huge amount of difference because that safety car was going to be out while they looked at that barrier for a good 10 laps. The only difference it would have made is that he wouldn't have made up as many places because he wouldn't have had as many laps to do it in. He still was ninth at the point where the red flag was thrown. He didn't regain that position because of a red flag or anything like that. It's not like there was a red flag and an account back and he's gained positions back or anything like that. So he still was in ninth at the restart. There still wouldn't have been a gap to the cars ahead because up to fourth place had been lapped. So all that would have happened was because of the red flag, it meant that the Ferraris and the McLaren didn't have to make a racing pit stop. It meant that he would have ended up finishing fifth instead of second. So it wouldn't have made a huge amount of difference in the end.
Really. Fifth to second, sorry, it does make it makes a huge amount of difference being fifth to second, because we would have had Lando in second and a Ferrari in third. And those points are major points. That kudos is major kudos for those two drivers. When Hamilton, do you know what was more annoying about the Hamilton thing? It's he effed up. It was his fault. He didn't. It was completely his fault. Although George Russell was involved, but it was
it wasn't Russell's fault.
But it was his fault for the spin.
Yeah.
It wasn't like he got crashed out.
But he didn't cause the red flag.
No, I'm not saying
that's just a lottery.
Sorry, but it's that he was the prop. He screwed up himself. If he had screwed up in any other race himself, he would have been pushed back. But because he did screw up in this race, and he was lapped, and they had the red flag, it was all fine. I just don't get.
It's just the same as any other situation when you have a restart or a red flag. Pierre Gasly won a race last year, and the reason Pierre Gasly won a race was because he was racing badly and was on the wrong strategy, and then just happened to, as a result of the red flag, benefit massively from that, and then ended up in a position.
He was trying that again this time, wasn't
he?
Get off the wet tyres, you imbecile!
Again, the same with Lance Stroll having a poor race in Monza, was nowhere near the pace, hadn't made a pit stop yet because it was just rolling the dice, and then there was a red flag, and then he ended up leading the race. So,
I love my wife.
Oh, nice. Coffee just coming out of nowhere. Yeah. Well, speaking of which, I need to top my coffee up. Thank you for reminding me. So it's exactly the same situation with any stoppage like that. Sometimes you
and I did have some thought about this lapping thing. That actually might have only been Verstappen that lapped him.
Yeah, it was. Verstappen was the only person that had lapped him. So it wouldn't have made much difference at all. It just meant that on track he would have caught back up.
I get where you're on about now, but still.
I say, because of the lack of racing laps, he probably wouldn't have got past. He probably would have got past Ricciardo for fifth, but he wouldn't have got past Leclerc and Sainz.
I just think that had it been. I know you can't have one rule for one rule for the other. Yeah. But if
that's the thing, it's the same for everyone.
Yeah. I feel
you can't just keep changing it to suit certain circumstances. As long as you've got a flat-out rule that's always there and it's always the same, then if people benefit from it, people benefit from it. That whole Monza Grand Prix really annoyed me because that would have been Sainz first, Norris second, potentially, or first, third, at least, you know. But because of the red flag, it meant that all of a sudden these other cars got thrown in front of them. And that's just the luck of the draw because they made a pit stop a couple of laps earlier. If they hadn't made that pit stop, they'd have been first and second. Yeah. When Hamilton took his penalty, and that would have been on merit as well, because that's where they were before Hamilton went through the pit lane. But it's what happens, you know. It's you've seen it countless times in the past where people have, Hamilton's lost races and won races because he's had the best strategy, or a driver has been on the best strategy, and then in that gap, when the first driver takes the pit stop. And then all of a sudden something happens, there's a safety car, there's a virtual safety car, the other person's able to jump them. Not fairly, not on pace, but it's what happens. It's live sport. Sometimes things happen.
The other thing I want to talk to you about is the previous two seasons, not the last season, but the previous two for that. What was that? 18 and 19. Mm-hmm. There was not a single red flag. What's changed the last 2 years? And I've got a theory on this because I don't think it is where the cars are ending up, because I think they are safely. I think it's the amount of debris that is being created on tracks to have so many red cars. And I wonder if the makeup of these new eco-friendly cars is creating a lot more debris. Or
I don't think so, because it's still carbon fibre that gets hit and gets shattered. I don't think it's. I think it's more of a where it's been the safety element. They're not allowing cars to race with damaged barriers, because if someone, I think since Jules Bianchi's death, that's kind of what's prompted it, where you can't have.
His death was a few years ago, wasn't it?
2014, he had his accident.
So
he died in
why not
2015, but
why not in 17 and 18?
I think it's just, as I said, I think it's just, it's not a common thing. I mean, look, it happened. It happened twice.
Year?
It happened twice last year, and it's happened once this year. So, that's
more than twice last year. I'm sure.
Well, it was Monza and Mugello, wasn't it?
Twice in the race, wasn't it?
Twice in Monza and once in Mugello. Oh yeah, true. Yeah, so 3. I forgot about Bahrain, but yeah,
so that's 4. Twice
again,
in one race we had.
It's damaging barriers. That's what it is. You can't have a damaged barrier, because then if someone else goes in, if one person goes in there, someone else can go in there. Whereas in the past, like I remember watching, I think it was like a race in Detroit one year, and there was loads of problems, loads of cars breaking down.
The new American track. I can't.
No. It's not even talk about it. But yeah, and it's just you just had cars just breaking down, and it was a really tight street circuit. There was no runoff, and you just had cars sitting on the side of the track off the racing line. You'd literally go around a corner, there'd be 3 cars parked line to stern that are broken down. They're just sitting on the track. It's like, but that's that. We don't leave cars on racetracks anymore because, like, safety and everything. So I think it's more of like the safety concerns and everything. They're just taking things a little bit more seriously now. Not that they weren't taking it seriously before, but they're just taking more into account now
and with this race, there was a lot of mistakes by drivers. Was it mistakes by drivers, or was it mistakes by the rain? If that makes,
I think it's just it's a very tight track. It's very unforgiving. People don't know it that well because they haven't raced there a lot lately.
We nearly lost Verstappen at one point in the restart.
Yeah. I mean, how many times before apart from last year's Imola Grand Prix with George Russell, how often do we see cars spin behind the safety car? I think Grosjean did it once. Yeah, Grosjean did it once. Russell did it last year.
How many times do we get it this year?
And in the last race, we had about 7 instances of people either half spinning or spinning, either on the way to the grid or behind the safety car.
There's something going on with tyres and brakes at the moment, because we obviously saw Aston Martin's brakes explode, not just on one car, both cars.
Yeah.
And I say explode, I'm not obviously meaning that, but you know what I mean. Burn up. And then they're obviously trying to keep their tyres warm or cool. I can't quite tell when they're behind the safety car. And I think because they're trying to do that, they're hitting a lot of extra dirt. They're hitting a lot of they're off the racing lines. They're in the water, the puddles and everything. I just think there's an issue with these tyres again this year, and no one's talking about it, because I feel that that's what's causing the issues behind the safety car. I think that's what's causing the lots of silly little mistakes. It's either, I don't know whether the brake ducting the rules are too tight, brake ducting. I don't know, or they're trying to finely tune it, or what. But the Alpine's, what's his name's Alpine's one at Bahrain, Alonso, were going up very, very hot.
Mm-hmm.
And then we've had the Aston Martin this time, and they're very different systems for the brake ducting. What's going on with those? Any ideas?
I think they're just running them to the limit. With Aston Martin, I've got no idea. I mean, we know they didn't design those brake ducts, so it's probably something to do with that. But no sympathy whatsoever with Aston Martin. But I think they're just running it to the limit. But one thing that really annoyed me with Aston Martin this weekend, I didn't pick up on it at first, but I only really sort of just thought about it today. So it seems that both Stroll and Vettel had issues, and it seems like everyone was fixing Stroll's car. Oh, what a great job, we got Stroll in the race. Oh, hang on, Vettel had a problem as well. Shit.
Right.
Oh, you better start from the pits.
What's going on with Vettel? He had it. He didn't really. Has he taken his whole engineering team from Ferrari and just moved them over to Aston, and then wondering what's happening?
He didn't really put a foot wrong today. Yesterday.
But what's going on? No, but it's
Aston
the
Martin,
same with the engineering team. It's the same thing that happened with Ferrari. It was always he was second in line with this car, with whatever issues it was, and it's
it seemed like they just didn't even want to fix his car, and then he ended up starting from the pit lane.
Well, was there more thought of I think their probable thought is, okay, we've only got the manpower, probably due to COVID, to concentrate on one car, and
they've just picked Stroll.
Let's have Stroll. He's further up the track. He's in a better position.
He's daddy's boy.
He's daddy's boy as well. But I think, to be honest, no, I think he was further up the track. He was in a better position. Why would you not concentrate on that car? If it was Hamilton or Bottas, who would they have chosen?
I just don't think
if it was
there's
Hamilton
an excuse.
Or Bottas, who would
well,
you
yeah.
choose?
Well, whoever had the best chance of winning the race in all
Hamilton,
likelihood.
then.
Yeah.
Let's be honest.
Well, in that situation, yeah, but
precisely.
It depends on.
But then the question would be Verstappen or Perez. Who would have you chosen?
Oh, they'd have gone for Verstappen, wouldn't they?
Do you reckon? Can you imagine being on the front line? Sorry.
Yeah,
sorry,
they'd have gone for Verstappen.
We're going to go with Verstappen.
Yeah, without a doubt.
That is quite funny. Like, we're going to go, well done on getting pole, mate. Well done. But we're actually going to worry about
He didn't get pole, he got second, didn't he?
Sorry.
But even so.
Sorry. Got second. We're going to go with Verstappen. So, Bottas and the Russell crash.
Oh, my God.
Whose fault was it?
Well,
let's decide this one.
Do you know what? I've turned around a little bit more on this. I mean, we were both on the Grid Talk podcast last night, and we were both kind of on a similar opinion that Russell did nothing wrong, and there was no real blame to be had. But if you had to pick someone to blame, you'd pick Bottas. But
no, I never said that.
No, this is what I said. I think we both said Russell did nothing wrong. I think, did you say it was a racing incident?
Well, I said there was no right. So what and you can probably quote me on this, but I can't remember exactly. But my thought now is, and my thought then hasn't changed. So it was that Bottas possibly didn't leave enough room for Russell, pushing him slightly too tight, but Russell was pushing far too hard on the outside, and then hit the grass and just lost control of it at that point. Whether he did a little nervous twitch because Bottas did a nervous twitch and he did a nervous twitch back, I think there was enough room to get down there. I think also, let's be honest, if you're a Merc, you're not really going to want to win him racing past you.
Yeah.
So that's still the sort of same thought, is that I still blame Russell, to be honest. I don't think Bottas overly did anyway, but let's see what your thoughts are.
So, as I said yesterday, I said Russell is absolutely not at fault and Bottas isn't really at fault. I mean, keep in mind that last night, because due to the delay in the race and obviously the slow pace of the race due to the rain, we are on this podcast. What, like an hour odd after the race had finished?
40 minutes after we were
the coverage was still going. So, you know, I hadn't seen any interviews, I hadn't seen any replays or anything. It was purely on just what I'd seen during the race, whilst also trying to make notes for the podcast. So, now that I've seen it a few more times, I think it's more Russell than Bottas. I do. I think I thought that Bottas was drifting across to defend his position, and then Russell just ran out of space. Having seen it again, Bottas stayed completely on the only dry line there was through that section of the track. His engineer was telling him that Russell was coming behind him, but he was just maintaining position. And if you look at the point where Russell puts a wheel on the grass, there's plenty of space. He doesn't need to be that far out. He's got spooked because Bottas is coming across the track, but he's only following the line that he would be following. Russell had every right to go for the overtake, but he's just not clinical enough.
Do you know what? And I think I said this in a text or some message to you yesterday, and I might have even said it on the podcast. It felt like Russell was going past Bottas and almost shat himself that he was, sorry, that's the right word? Anyway,
Chat's fine.
Chat's fine. Almost shat himself that he was going past Bottas. And he was almost like, oh my God, I'm passing Ferrari and Mercedes, oh crap. And then just lost it again because he wasn't concentrating, because he was trying to get past the Mercedes and Bottas. He wasn't, he certainly wasn't concentrating on the race. And then, okay, fine. The racing incident is the racing incident. What disappointed me more than anything was his reaction.
Yeah. I mean, we've called this.
I don't blame Bottas' reaction to him.
We've called this episode "How to Lose Drives and Alienate Toto," and that's just like, lose your job 101 right there from Russell.
But I did also say this probably goes quite well in his favour because it looks like he's got spunk and wants to fight for the race. Do you know what I mean? And I saw, to be honest, I saw what he put up online. I saw a comment. I don't know if it's true, but it had George Russell's name, and the comment said that he was overtaking the Mercedes, and the Mercedes was pushing for him. Why would Bottas fight for that space if he was the person?
I've actually heard him say that quote. I've actually seen the interview where he said that.
Okay. Because he's fighting for the same seat you're racing for, you idiot.
Yeah, but that's irrelevant.
That is why.
It's still a space on the racetrack.
You're still fighting.
Yeah. It's a place on the racetrack. It's irrelevant whether it's first, 10th, 21st. It's a place on the racetrack.
Of course he's not going to yield because you're the new boy that's coming in.
Russell was on warmer tyres on a wet track. He was better. Bottas had not long come out of the pits. He was still trying to bring his tyres up to temperature. He really struggled with tyre warm up all race. It took him about 10 laps to get the tyres in the temperature window in the first stint, which is why he was falling back. So he knew that obviously he's got the second quickest car on track. He was going to be able to pull away from Russell once he'd got the tyres in the operating window. So of course he's going to defend, because right now Russell's quicker, but in a couple of laps time Bottas is going to be able to pull away.
And
of course he's going to defend that position.
With Russell behind him.
Yeah, but so Russell then he said to Bottas, "Are you trying to kill us?" was what he said to him in the car. Bottas couldn't actually hear what he was saying, but clearly he was being quite aggressive towards Bottas, and that's why Bottas gave him the finger. Yeah. But I think it's just really bad form.
Around the head.
Yeah, no, that was more just flippant. That wasn't.
I don't care how flippant it is. I don't care how flippant it is. You do not whack someone around the head when they've just been in a crash.
But the interview with Toto Wolff for me is quite telling. They've asked him about the interview, and he said
about the incident. You mean?
I may be paraphrasing a little bit here, but basically what the gist of it was, they asked Toto about the accident, and then Toto said, the worst thing George can do is try and prove himself to us. In 5 years, Valtteri has never once tried to prove himself. And then he said something along the lines of he jokes with Russell about not getting the Mercedes drive and then racing in the Clio Cup instead. I think right now he's closest to the Clio Cup than a Mercedes drive. And he needs to race Mercedes cars differently to how he races other cars, because valid point, a complete rebuild, probably a new chassis on that car with the budget cap. Apparently now that is going to limit the amount of development they can do, because they can only spend so much money a year. And now they're going to have to replace that car. That's going to be vital aerodynamic parts they can't bring to that car now. So he said he needs to think more about what he's doing when he's racing a Mercedes.
He needs to protect the Mercedes.
Yeah. Now
he shouldn't be racing. It's very strange for them to be racing anyway, because let's be honest, they should be polar opposites to the pack. But the Williams car is not that rubbish this year.
It's very peaky, isn't it? Some races are going to be quick, some races are going to be slow.
But it's not as rubbish as we all thought it would be. And it's not fighting. They're not fighting with the Hasses. They're fighting with the Alpines and the.
Yeah.
They're not.
But there will be races when it's back there with the Haas.
I will be. They're fighting more with
fighting for eighth.
The eighth, which is a lot more than they were last year.
Oh yeah,
they're fighting Alpha really a lot more than they would ever fighting Alpha last year.
I see them as like some races ahead of Alpha, most races behind Alpha. But on the odd time when they're ahead of them, they need to start getting points. Today was a race where they both could have got points.
We talked about this yesterday. The Latifi's actually not that bad a driver.
No, he's not. We always knew he was a decent driver.
And Russell is a good driver, but he just showed his rookie immatureness yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it was yesterday. He showed he didn't protect the Merc. Protect your Merc, mate. That's your seat. You've just crashed into your car.
I think
that's what you've just literally done.
One thing we've got to stress though is that he did absolutely nothing wrong from a racing perspective to go for that move, but politically, where he's racing his employers effectively, he should treat that Mercedes almost like it's a teammate. But from a racing perspective, he did nothing wrong. If that was any other car on the track,
as I said, in the racing perspective, he did nothing wrong. If he smashed into like a Ferrari, no one would have cared. But it was his reaction after that showed his stupidity. And you've gone on me. Can anyone else see Tom? Is this just me talking? Look, we did this last week where it was just me talking. Oh, Tom's back. Tom's back.
Hello.
Hello.
I didn't go anywhere.
Yeah, you did.
Hello. You all right? Well, oh well.
Tom's back. I can't remember
Seemed
what I was
fine.
saying. Anyway, basically, it was
yeah.
basically hit right. So Lando. So not Lando. Why am I bringing Lando into this?
We'll get on to Lando.
Russell. Yeah, the racing incident was fine. If it was a Ferrari, you can crash into that. Absolutely no problem. But even if it was the Merc, again, still in some ways no problem. It was his reaction after that was disappointing, and him still fighting that reaction and trying to justify that reaction instead of just going, look, I was bloody pissed off and I took it out, and Valtteri, sorry, but I felt you were in the wrong at that point. But that's what he needs to say, and not hide from Toto Wolff, which it was suggested he was hiding.
Well, no, he wasn't hiding. He actually kind of doubled down, didn't he? He was then saying he said in multiple interviews that he had done nothing wrong and it's all Valtteri's fault.
Yeah, but that's the wrong thing to say.
Absolutely, it's the wrong thing to say.
Like, even if it was his fault, just go like I think it was Valtteri's fault, but it was the problem was it was a racing incident. I was trying to get past him. I thought this happened, or whatever he thought happened. Like he moved into my lane. I'll have to look at the replays, but that's what I thought at this moment. So look, let me look at the replays. Let me, if I was wrong, I will go up and apologise to Valtteri. That's what he should be saying. Like, so he's still defending himself, but not being an absolute arse about it. And that is not the way to be at all. And everyone talks about Hamilton being an arse, but if he's done something wrong, he 95% of the time apologises.
Oh, all the time if he's done something wrong. Sorry, he's an absolute role model.
Yeah.
Look at the way he
the way he congratulated
Lando
and Verstappen.
And Verstappen, yeah. And yeah, he does this thing is because people are so used to seeing him win, and then some people don't want to see him win, and then he celebrates when he wins. That gets people's go. Obviously, if your football team loses or whatever other sport you follow, if they lose and then the other team celebrate, you're going to be annoyed at that. So people get annoyed at him because he celebrates a win. But you look, whenever he loses, he's very gracious. He's very gracious loser. Now, if he feels he's been wronged, then absolutely. But if he gets beaten, if he makes a mistake or just gets completely outpaced, then that's fine. He is absolutely magnanimous in defeat, and he always congratulates, and he's an absolute role model in that sense. Now, if he gets wronged or there's a bad steward's decision that he feels is wrong, of course he's going to fight his corner. Of course he's going to argue his case, but he always congratulates, and I think he's an absolute role model in that case.
Yeah, and I mean, let's talk about that.
Should we actually talk about the race winner, which we haven't?
Race winner. I mean, the thing was, it was a great race. He nearly lost it during the safety car. But But again, to be honest, it was a bit of a Hamilton. I forgot he was in the race because everything was going on behind him.
Well, yeah, I mean,
for ages, you sort of just like, oh yeah, Verstappen's just driving around in circles, happy out.
From the red flag onwards, we hardly saw him.
Yeah, and even from the beginning, we didn't overly see him. He was getting a bit of an attack from Hamilton, but it wasn't like a major thing. He was getting
very tetchy just before the pit stops because he was worried that Hamilton was going to come past him because Hamilton had the pace to win that race, and it was Mercedes really that blundered it with their pit stop. And
which happens quite regularly at the moment as well.
I mean, it wasn't like a horrendous pit stop, don't get me wrong, but given that Verstappen was coming out into traffic, they could have then left. Hamilton had so much grip left on his tyres. You could see he had so much tread left on those tyres compared to Verstappen, where they were almost bald. And Verstappen had to stop them because he had no tyres left. Yeah. So it was a gamble going on to the dries. I mean, he did a stunning outlap, don't get me wrong. But then he came across all that traffic and he lost so much time in that traffic. I do think that if they'd have then said, give it the first two sectors, coming into the third sector, okay, that mid-sector, the two cars are neck and neck. This isn't going to work. Verstappen's going to be quicker in the final sector than Hamilton. He's not, we're going to have to do like a sub 2 second pit stop. Don't back yourself in that scenario. Just then say, well, do you know what? Let's extend. At the moment, we got a 50-50 chance of getting the lead. Let's just extend. Verstappen's got traffic coming up. Let's just see if we can extend and then overcut. And I think through that traffic then, Hamilton, couple of really fast laps, he had a better chance of jumping Verstappen on the overcut.
But again, it was a Mercedes.
It was a slightly slow pit stop, which then meant that there was Giovinazzi level with Hamilton, and they had to wait for Giovinazzi to come past, and that was it. That's the race gone.
What's going on with Merckx? Their pit stop, they obviously are not concentrating at all on their pit stop.
Well, no, they are. I mean, they're not.
They are the ones that have the most issues.
No, I think
they are.
I think they
Name
look
one
like
other team that has more issues than them in pit
there's
stops.
lots of teams. McLaren are quite bad at pit stops. They're worse than Mercedes.
No, Mercedes are the worst.
No, they're not. They're not. It's because you see it more because they're in the winning positions. The amount of times we see other teams have issues in the pits as well. Red Bull have issues in the pits, but they're just not as often. Mm-hmm. The amount of times we see Ferrari have issues in the pits, Alfa Romeo have issues in the pits.
I still think Merck's the worst.
It always looks worse because they're the ones that are in those top positions.
I think you're probably right. What I think is more it is that the Mercs are more catastrophic.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Issues are more catastrophic than anyone else's. Like Red Bull issues. Okay, they're either fighting for second or they're so far ahead in first. It doesn't really make much difference. But they always. I mean, saying that. Merckx's Bottas pit was super fast. It was probably one of the smoothest of the day, to be honest. Verstappen was a great race from Verstappen. I mean, was it a great race from? I know, I'm not going to bash your boy here, but was it a great race from Nando, or was it well played from the team? And how would you think Ricciardo? How do you think Ricciardo?
How do I think Ricciardo?
What do you think about Ricciardo's reaction to all of this?
Well, he's not had a great race, has he? He just didn't have the pace. Whereas Lando had the pace all weekend. He had pace in hand over Ricciardo all weekend, and the only reason Ricciardo was ahead of Norris on track at the start of the race was obviously because Norris was just slightly misjudged his qualifying lap completely on him. That's his mistake. And then the time that he set in Q3 was on used tyres, so of course it's going to be nowhere near as quick as his overall top pace. Now that's him. You can call it inexperience or just being a little too greedy. Just a little bit more steering lock in turn 9, and then he's put himself in third or fourth. Worst case scenario, fourth, even if he just takes it easy on that turn 9. But yeah, it's as part of the learning curve, and he just had an absolutely stunning race. I think for the race, I can't think of anyone else that had a more perfect race than Lando Norris. I mean, maybe Charles Leclerc. But even Charles Leclerc, he got overtaken twice by Lando Norris in the race. Mm-hmm. So you can't... I mean, that... no prizes for guessing who my driver of the day is going to be. But it's...
what about Verstappen? Apart from that dodgy little hitting the chicane...
Well, again, the pass on
the only issue he had.
The pass on lap 1 was fine. Nothing wrong with that whatsoever. That's great. Good start. He almost lost it on the restart, and he also lost loads of time in traffic and started getting flustered and allowed Hamilton to come back into play. Now, I'm not saying that he's had a bad race whatsoever because he hasn't. He's been fantastic. If you're looking at driver of the day, it's neck and neck between Verstappen and Norris. In
regards to Lando, what is your thoughts on this? I've got no power. Every time I'm going around a corner, I've got no power.
Well,
you do have power because you're moving forward quite fast, mate.
I think he's just probably he's in the best ever position in a race, and when you're in that kind of position, you feel every little gremlin, every little creak, every little squeak. You hear it, you feel it, and then you report it back because you don't want that car to conk out on you. I think that's more what it is. But apparently, what was happening was his knee pad was hitting his clutch paddle on the back of the steering wheel, which is why he was saying when he was going through certain corners the gear shifts were out of sync.
The one who's kept losing.
The gears keep skipping. It's like, mate, you're knocking the paddle. Oh, don't worry. So I think
some of it though. I think some of it is also playing games, in the sense of my car. I'm losing power in the corners. Either it's code for something else, or and it also sends the message of, okay, we're not as fast as we're looking. The guys behind are going to try doing silly things and we can pull off or whatever. I just feel like there's a little bit of gameplay in, and it happens with Hamilton. You'll always notice Hamilton has
tyres are gone, Bono.
My tyres are gone. My tyres are gone. No, they're fine. Just and then everyone just ignores them. Ah, crap! My tyres just blown. 3 wheels on my wagon.
There's going to be so much gameplay going on all through the race. You know, there's going to be
and I think
secret codes for everything. Like when there's cars coming through to lap people. Like for example, when Bottas was being lapped by Verstappen, I guarantee the radio call was probably, Max is coming up behind you, Lewis isn't far behind, or something along that. And that is code for, don't let Verstappen pass too easily.
Yeah.
But they can't say that, obviously.
No. But what was really interesting was the fact that they did blatantly just go, we're going to swap you over and just see how we're going.
That's fine. That's fine, because at that point, Norris... Yeah, that's fine. There's no rules against team orders anymore. There's nothing against that. But what they can't do is say slow him up, because that's against the sporting regs. You can't do that. But what they can do is swap the drivers around. No reason why not. There's nothing in the rules to say they can't do that. Not anymore.
Yeah. I don't know if that's a good idea.
Well, you can't police it. You can't police it.
Yeah. I'm glad that
they've tried to police it, and then it's just been axed because you can't police it.
I think I like that he's got to the point. I mean, you could police that because it was such an obvious move over.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, all they'll do is they'll send him a message saying set mix to point B or whatever, and then that is code for let your teammate through, he's quicker than you. They'll just come up with all these different codes to mean different things. So it's not policeable in that sense. At least this way, it's all out in the open and people know exactly what it means.
Yeah. And they were trying to play we just want to test if he's quicker than you, and if he's not, we put you all back as you were. Yeah,
and then straight away he pulls out a couple of seconds.
Yeah.
So that would have been difficult for him to see.
Yeah.
Would have been difficult for him to see. But so I want to talk about Raikkonen's post-race penalty, because Raikkonen finished on track in 9th, and then he got his points removed. He got a 30-second penalty and dropped back to like 13th or something. So this is interesting because I say it's interesting. People are going to start switching off because it's boring.
Oh, here we go. Get your beds comfy, lads.
No, because you got the Perez situation where Perez went into the gravel and then came back on track, and 2 cars had gone past him, and then he overtook them behind the safety car to then take back his position and got a penalty. Now the rules are slightly different.
Why didn't Leclerc just carry on?
Oh,
because Leclerc broke heavily.
What you mean when Verstappen spun?
No. Was it when Verstappen? No. Who was behind? No. Who was behind? Who was behind Perez when he spun?
It was Ricciardo and Gasly.
Okay, sorry. Why? They both broke heavily.
They did at first, because they weren't sure if he was going to stay on track or not. And then when he went off track, they were like, "Oh no, actually, we can pass him." So they went past him.
But they still let him past. This is what I don't understand.
Well, they didn't.
Perez took
the positions back, didn't he?
How?
Well, he just drove past him because it wasn't racing.
But how? Because this is what I can't understand.
It's behind the safety car. They're going half speed.
So did he then break the speed limit as well?
Well, no, there's no speed limit behind the safety car. You just have to stay within 10 car lengths of the car in front.
This is what I can't understand, because there is a speed limit, whatever the speed is.
No, there's no speed. The speed limit is the speed the safety car's going, and you have to stay within 10 car lengths of the car in front.
But then, obviously, the car was, because of the gap that Perez left, was Gasly and Ricciardo not?
I'm completely lost on what you're trying to say here. I don't understand what point you're making.
My point is that, because I know what you're going to go on to, and I just want to get this on first. Right, we're in the Perez one. Perez spun off.
Yeah.
Okay. Very much unlike the what's his chops, the Verstappen one, where Verstappen didn't go off, and everyone broke behind because he was the pace car. Mm-hmm. Completely understand that. But Perez went off. Mm-hmm. Ricciardo and Gasly broke heavily.
Mm-hmm.
Why did they not then speed up and close the gap? How did Perez get past them back into position without speeding past them? At what point did they allow him to jump in front of them? This is what I can't understand.
Well, they're only going. They're going so slowly at that point
But they still managed to let him through, and I don't get this.
Yeah, they're going so slowly, and then Perez just didn't go as slow as them, so he drove past them. Of course he's going to get past them. He did that because he believed that he was able to do that. His team should have told him he absolutely shouldn't have done that.
What rule was that in there? Even I can work that rule out.
Well, yeah, you can't. It's a safety car. You're not allowed to overtake.
Yeah.
It's kind of, yeah.
Like, but if you go off track, yeah, grand.
What I was trying to point out here is there's a slight difference with the Raikkonen situation in that Raikkonen believed that Raikkonen did the same thing as Perez, but the slight difference in the Raikkonen situation was that he did that on the way back to the grid under safety car, like what was effectively the formation lap before the restart, but the restart was behind the safety car. There's different rules for a formation lap. In a formation lap, if you leave the track, you can overtake to retake your position, so long as the overtaking is done before you get to the first safety car line, or before the safety car lights go out. And unfortunately for Raikkonen, he hadn't retook those positions before the safety car lights had gone out. That's why he got the penalty. It's just a very slight difference because the rules kind of contradict each other.
Yeah.
So like you can't overtake behind the safety car, but you can overtake on a parade lap to the grid, which is behind the safety car in this scenario. So it's a bit of a contradicting rule. So it's just one of these slight different situations, and he's just kind of fallen foul of the regulations there. So it's just to clear up that confusion, because it's definitely one that people can think, well, hang on, why did he think he could pass anyway? Because Perez got a penalty for that. But it's just a slight inconsistency in the regulations, because some scenarios can exist in two realities, whereas in this situation, it could have been one or two different things.
Yeah.
But
I just feel like, okay, talking about penalties and things, what happened with the penalty with Raikkonen after?
That's what I just talked about.
Was it?
Yes, that's literally what I just discussed. You weren't listening, were you?
I told you I'd fall asleep. I told you I'd fall asleep.
Oh, well, that bit's not going to make the final cut. We're going to cut that bit out of this, I think. Oh, wow.
Hello, YouTube!
Hey, YouTube.
I wasn't awake. Sorry.
Carl wasn't listening.
No, I wasn't. I sort of got a work text in the middle of that. This is the problem, right? This is the problem with me and Tom. We both have work lives and normal life. We do this completely for fun. We're not paid to do any of this. We're not even sponsored or anything to do any of this. Might change soon. Who knows?
Maybe.
But so I do apologize. I do get distracted, and work stuff does come up, and which is weird now having to record live because
normally that kind of stuff just wouldn't even make the podcast.
It would just normally happens. It's just like crap. So you're getting
often in the past during my 2-minute challenge, I've stopped in the middle of the 2-minute challenge and started again because I've tripped over my word. Can't do that now. We're live streaming.
Phone calls, we had dogs, we've had cats, we've had everything.
Doorbells ringing, gas man coming to fix the boiler.
We haven't had a doorbell in a while.
Yeah, we haven't actually. That's because now we're kind of deep in this pandemic situation. People just don't ring doorbells anymore. They're just now I've got a camera on my I've got a camera on my doorstep. I see it happen so often. You got like the Hermes guy comes up. He's a lovely little man in his turban, warns up to the door, throws it on the floor, takes a picture of it, and just walks. Don't even get anywhere near the step. He just lobs it on the step from 10 feet away, takes a picture of it, and walks off. But the thing is, he comes every day, so because if it's not my missus, it's my housemate that's ordering stuff. So between the three of us, we've always got something coming.
Right,
anyway,
that'd be on the end there. Carl ignores what the hell's going on.
Yeah,
that's the end.
Potentially.
I wasn't listening, so I hope it was interesting. I hope
it was.
Found it really interesting.
Listen to the podcast and you'll know.
Yeah, because I have no idea what the deal was. Right, Tsunoda. Let's talk about the wee little lad. I don't know why he's gone Scottish.
Charlie's not on this week.
No, Charlie's not on this week. Tsunoda, Charlie's not on this week.
I haven't used that one for a while, so
Charlie. Little Yuki.
Yeah, he's annoying me a little bit.
Man.
Controversial. He's annoying me a little bit. Now, I know like English isn't his first language, and when you learn a new language, the first thing you do is look up swear words.
I'm effing traffic or something.
Yeah.
I'm effing paradise traffic or something.
Yeah. He's talking about Perez. He was saying that Perez, like, is he stupid?
That was in practice.
Yeah, in qualifying, wasn't it? I think. But yeah, it's He's just overly aggressive over the radio, and it's starting to annoy me a little bit, to be honest. I know, like, people think, oh, it's cute. It's like a kitten attacking a dog, you know, but it's just. I think it's gonna, when he starts getting in a position where he's gonna be winning races or pushing to win races, I think it's gonna get very old very quickly. And I think he just need. I know he's only a little kid. He's only 20, 21 years old or something. But he needs to. That's one thing he's gonna have to do as he gets older. He's gonna have to learn to temper that a little bit. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I had him down for first retirement because I thought, well, you know, he's throwing moves up the inside when you've got postcodes of runoff in Bahrain, but is he going to do that in Imola? And I think, to be honest, he wasn't the first retirement, but I think I was dead right in what I said about him. How many mistakes did he make? How many times did we see him in the gravel? He totaled the car. He totaled the car in qualifying, trying too hard. So, you know,
I think he's just trying to prove himself. He'll settle down.
Absolutely,
he'll cool down. The little pocket rocket will calm down a little bit. Let's be honest, he did quite well from where he started. We can't be bad. He ends up 12th, didn't he?
He had multiple trips through the gravel. We had 4 or 5 cars that completely took themselves out of contention. So I don't think he did that well. I mean, like people were saying on the Grid Talk podcast last night, he'd had a good race. And I mean, I wasn't talking about him. I wasn't picked to talk about him. And I'm glad, because I would have upset quite a few people with what I would have said, because I don't think he had a good race at all.
Yeah.
I mean, he made a couple of overtakes, which was good. But again, in those conditions, it's kind of... it's risk versus reward, and he was trying a lot of moves.
But then, he's in a car that isn't going to be reward worthy.
Well, it is. It's almost as quick as the McLaren, that car.
Do you think?
Yeah, this is what I mean. I mean, I was looking around for like stats to pull out at the end of the race if things had changed, and I was looking at Sean's Twitter, and he was putting out some possible stats and things like that, and I was just looking at general things as well. The best one I could come up with was the whole first double British podium since China 2012, which everyone seems to have picked up on.
This is the first Red Bull podium since 2013. There we go.
The first Red Bull podium.
Red Bull win since 2013.
It's not the first Red Bull win since 2013. That's just wrong. He won in Abu Dhabi.
I'm going to have to go and look at this now.
Red Bull win since...
Sorry, Red Bull in Italy, I said.
In Italy. Oh, yeah.
2013.
Oh, yeah, that'll be it. First red flag in Imola since 1994.
Awkward.
Yeah. At the same corner. Tamburello.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But no, the stat I was looking at was that the last Honda 123 was in 1988. And I was thinking Gasly could get P3 here behind a Red Bull 1-2. That's how quick that AlphaTauri is.
Yeah.
So that's what I was getting at there. It's a quick car.
Every time they talk about some random fact, like, oh, Sean sent them an email.
Yeah. No, he sends them a pack, doesn't he, with all the stuff in, and if things are happening during the race, he sends them as well.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Sean sent an email at that point. You could tell when new fact comes in, they get really excited by it. They're like, oh, the youngest podium? Or
get in touch with us if you want Sean back on again, because I'm sure he would come back on, but I don't want to just go to the same guests all the time. He's great. He's hilarious. So get in touch with us if you want Sean.
Yeah, we don't mind chatting to Sean.
Yeah, we're quite happily.
This is really weird this week because we haven't had a guest or someone with us.
Yeah. We have
to handle this ourselves.
We're going to have Philip Matthew on, but to talk about IndyCar. But the trouble is, because we record in the afternoons, and right now he is asleep, guaranteed. It's 3:30 in the afternoon for him. That's like 5 o'clock in the morning or something. So he is not going to be awake.
Is he over the other side? Is he in the LA side?
I know he's 9 hours behind. So what we're going to do is I'm going to jump on with Phil. Excuse me. I'm going to jump on with Phil, and we're going to talk about IndyCar with him separately, and probably Josh as well, if Josh can come on, who's his co-host on the Grip Script podcast. So I was on the Grip Script podcast last week talking about an IndyCar preview, which was hilarious considering how much I know about IndyCar compared to those guys. So that was quite hilarious. What do you think is going to happen? I'm like, but yeah, no, that's
awkward.
No, it's fine. I
when
think
are you recording that?
It's done. It's live. It went live last week.
No, when are you recording for our one?
So we're not entirely certain yet. The next couple of days, me and Phil are going to jump on, and we're going to talk about the IndyCar. So we'll touch on the IndyCar a little bit later on, but we won't go into details on it. Or something. There will be, yeah. Well, there won't be a drop in. It'll be a separate podcast. So you'll probably get a 2 podcast week, or might just tie it in with next week as well. We'll see. We'll see what happens.
Is there there's no IndyCar next week, is there? So...
yeah, I think we've got St. Pete's next week. I'll have a quick look on the calendar. Quick look on the calendar. So next week we have St. Pete's and Valencia Formula E. So no Formula 1, just IndyCar and Formula E next week. So we'll have Charlie back on next week.
Charlie!
I might do might do an Indy double header with Phil.
Let me know when you're doing that Phil talk. I might decide to wake up.
Okay. I'll let you know, and then if you join, you join. That'd be good. Cool. Okay.
I was going through the diary and putting all the things in. I was like, oh, I'm not looking forward to the middle of winter having to get up.
Yeah, well, you can always look on the file I've got on the Dropbox. That's got everything in there you can look at, and it's quite scary at times.
5 o'clock in the morning. I'm like,
yeah.
God.
I think the worst week we've got is we've got 29th of August. We've got Spa, and we've got W Series, Formula 3, Formula 1, and Extreme E. And then we've also got October. We've got
4 hours for that one then.
Yeah. Then we're
going to have to work out whether we just touch on these things because
we've got F1, and then we've got the series finale of F3. We've got W Series and Extreme E.
When's that?
Again, that's in October for USA, and then Brazil for Extreme E. Yeah, that's the worst two. That's 6 events, and then we've got some weeks where we might have
to pick out.
Yeah, I mean, we'll probably do like a W Series special at the start of the season, but then we'll just kind of report on W Series. We may even do the same with Formula 3. We'll see how things go, but I want to try and keep the podcast down to around an hour. An hour and a half maximum. Really, we don't want to be going like 2.5 hour podcasts like I've seen some people do. That's just too long.
Especially when people talk for 2.5 hours on F1. I mean, we drag out an hour. Well, via different things.
Well, let's. Should we have a look at driver of the day then?
Go on.
So,
I mean, we all know who the driver of the day is. Tick. Right, move on. The colour gives it away. My background colour gives it away.
Driver of the day done. Right, dick of the day.
Sorry. I'm actually going to go with Russell.
Yeah, he would be my honourable mention, but my actual dick of the day is what? Dick of the weekend, dick of the season.
That's the problem. I can't. He wasn't dick of the season. He was just dick of the day. So.
Aston Martin / Otmar Zafner. Aston Martin for the way they dealt with Vettel or didn't deal with Vettel. Otmar Zafner for the whole.
That's what I hear when he talks.
Yeah, we're going to sue you if we don't get our downforce back. We'll design a better freaking car then.
Well, okay. Like you can answer me on this one. And why is he going mad? Why didn't he just change the rake of his car once he realised that?
Well, it's a whole aerodynamic philosophy, isn't it? Plus, they don't know what they're doing. They traced it, didn't they? They copied the car from Mercedes, and now they don't understand how it works, and they can't change it because they don't understand how the concept works. Because Mercedes are coping all right. Mercedes are a low rate car. They're trying to say that these changes have been made to spice up competition and not for safety reasons. They're saying, they brought it in to slow the cars down because the tyres can't cope with it, but then they changed the tyres anyway. Yeah, the reason they changed the tyres anyway was because the cars were going so much quicker, even through the season. They've already got back pretty much all of that downforce they lost, so they had to change the tyres, or we'd still end up having blowouts. It's completely down to safety, but they're saying that it was done on a sporting reason, not on a safety reason, and that is against the rules. So they're trying to tell Formula 1 how to set the rules, but
even if it was done on a sporting reason, every team
doesn't
signed
matter.
up for it.
Every team signed up for it.
So what is he? I mean, the Merc is fine. Like he's trying to go, the high rate Mercs, but okay, they're not as powerful as this year, granted, but they're not back in the bottom.
So he's saying like this has been done to slow down Mercedes. Yet they won the first race. And they qualified on pole for the second race, and could have won in different circumstances. So of course. No, it's Aston Martin. They signed up to the regulations. They agreed to do it. They had a year or 9 months to design these cars based on these regulations, and they've done a bad job. Sorry, get over yourself. Dick of the day, Aston Martin. Are you going to agree with me on that?
I'm not.
Or are we going to fight over Russell?
I'm not going to disagree. I think it's just. I don't think it's dickish. I just think it's ridiculous and stupid and pointless. I think the dick was. So for me, the dick is always a dick move. It's not, it's not like completely. So it's a dick move as opposed to a dick moan, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like that is just being a dick. If it was being a dick, Mazepin would be on there every time for being a dick. But the dick of the day is that dick move at that point of the race.
Well,
and should only be and should be the
yeah,
point
but
of the race.
we've given it to stewarding before,
which was during the race.
Yeah, but it's
I mean,
over the whole
stewarding
weekend
can have it
as well.
this time if they want.
No, stewarding was fine this weekend. Stewarding was great this weekend.
Okay.
Right. Well, we've got to decide who the dick of the day is. Can I at least just put Otmar's after down?
You just want to put him down. I feel like I'm getting coerced into this.
Well, we've got to make a decision. There's only two of us, so we can't have anyone doing a casting vote.
I know.
So
it feels like I need a casting vote on this. I think we should put it to a poll. Let's do a Twitter poll.
Well, Darren's commenting on the YouTube. Darren, it's down to you. Who's dick of the day, Russell or Otmar? Let's see. He's put a few comments on, so let's see if he's listening.
Oh, is he?
You decide. Who is dick of the day, Russell or Otmar Zafner? There's going to be a bit of delay on the
There's
going
to
be
quite
stream.
a bit of delay.
Oh, drum roll. Come on, Darren. Don't let us down.
There.
Don't let us down. Come on. Come on, Darren. You can do this. We're going to have to cut this out of the podcast, aren't we?
Yeah.
Come on. We're waiting for you, Darren.
Yeah.
I bet he's not even watching anymore. I bet he's logged off.
Yeah. The one time when we need him.
Yeah. Russell. Okay, Russell's dick of the day then. Yeah.
Yes! Winner!
Oh, that's not popular. I really wanted it to be Otmar. Never mind.
Tough luck. There we go.
Thank you, Darren, for your contribution. Right, it's George Russell.
There we go.
Right,
winner, chicken.
Prediction results then. We both got no points. Moving on.
Actually, do you know what? We've got a family one in the house now. My wife is now obsessed with Formula One.
Excellent. We'll have her on the podcast one day.
Go figure. I don't know if she'd want that, but Laura's liking Formula One, and we now sit in the lounge and watch it as a family.
Do you know,
when the mother-in-law comes in, and we've now got prediction. We're doing the old prediction league of first, second, third, and fastest lap. And currently, my wife's winning.
Of course she is.
My mother-in-law's second. And me and my father-in-law, who actually like Formula One, except he always goes for Ferrari, so that's possibly his problem, are last.
Excellent. Well, Charlie, who did the guest predictors for us last week, he had Verstappen for the winner, and the random position was Pierre Gasly. He said 7th, so he got 2 points.
Wow.
Which means now the guest predictor is ahead of us, and they've only competed in one race.
God's sakes.
Because we got 1 point and they got 2. Anyway. Predictions, yeah, done.
Next week. That's next week.
So
anyway.
next week we've
Makes
got
it quicker and easier, doesn't it?
Yeah. Next up, we've got St. Pete's and Valencia, as we already discussed. Next week, the next race is for Formula One is Portugal.
Portimao.
Yep, and then we've also got an IndyCar doubleheader. So next 2 podcasts have got IndyCar races. So triple header for IndyCar.
Nice.
So that's going to be fun, isn't it?
So I'm looking forward to. Yeah, I'm actually looking forward to Portimao. That's possibly.
Yeah, me too. Because at the end of the day, although Imola gave us a great race, what happened after the red flag? Hamilton was the only one who could overtake because he was out of position. A dry track, Imola still doesn't produce a vast amount of overtaking.
So the weekend after your wedding, there is a race. Are we going to be live together on that one?
12th of September. Potentially, we could do that because I'm getting married on the Friday. So we could potentially...
And you're not jumping on a honeymoon.
It just depends what happens with the...
Have you got booked a mini-moon?
No, we've got our honeymoon booked, which currently I would miss Road America.
Road America.
On the 20th
When's
of June.
that?
And the French Grand Prix. Oh no! Why France? Why France? Why? Of all the races I could miss, why France?
27th of June.
Yeah. Oh no, I should be back for that. Oh, it's a shame.
Yeah, 20th of June's Father's Day. So, right, there's no racing on my birthday, or Father's Day, so I can't even claim.
Yeah. Well, see, I say this, but I mean, the honeymoon may not happen. We may not be allowed international travel in June. So, anyway, so we don't know if I may well miss some races later on if we have to postpone the honeymoon. So I may end up missing like Laguna Seca or the Russian Grand Prix again. Why Russia? Why God? Why do I have to miss Russia? Anyway, this short podcast has gone on for an hour now, over an hour. So I think we should probably end it there. So thank you everyone for joining us. Join us later in the week for our double header of podcasts with the IndyCar, and we will speak to you all next week.
Bye.
Bye.
See you later.
You never know.
Did you in your I can't think over this nose.
Post show, bitches.
Whoever listens to that.
No one.
Did you name your missus in the naming of the race?
A little bit, because she said, "Oh look, it's the Emily Grand Prix." So
yeah, I thought you said. I thought you picked it up. I thought you said the Emily. Romania.
Yeah, I said the Emily.
Hang on, is that true?
The Emily Roman Ciaubella Grand Prix.
Yeah, and I was like,
so let's have a look at the comments we've got here.
Oh, Jesus, we've got comments.
Lots of comments from Darren, basically. It's all pretty much all Darren.
About what facts is he going to come back with?
Darren thinks we're going to be sponsored by Rich Energy, apparently. Carl rants again. Love it.
What am I ranting about? Did I rant this?
That was at 3:05. So that was quite early in the podcast.
That was about Hamilton thing again, I think.
Yeah, talking about the red flag. I love how he just likes correcting us. It's brilliant.
What's the correction?
Just like stuff about the cars in the pit lane lining up in the pit lane. And did he keep the track limits? I'm not sure who you're talking about there, Darren. Sorry. St. Pete's, yes, I know it's St. Pete's. For a short show, you're doing very well. Yep.
Dragging it out.
His argument is the rule didn't.
Much like Raikkonen's career.
Yeah. So Otmar Zafner's rule was that the argument didn't come from the FIA. Yeah, that's basically it's the sporting regulations. They're saying that it's Liberty who came up with the rules, not the FIA. If I had a choice, I would have said Perez for overtaking under yellow. He should have known better. Yeah, it's not really a dick move though. It's just he just made a mistake. Move.
Doing a bit of a mistake and being a bit of a stupid idiot. That's not dickish. It has to be dickish. There is quite a. Although I can't explain it, but there is quite a formula to being a dick and what the dick of the day is. I like how I'm not allowed to swear, but I can say dick as many times as I want.
Well, dick's all right, because we're just saying that, he behaves like a Richard.
The Richard.
Yeah.
Those Richards.
Yeah. Yeah.
All those Richards.
If you're called Richard, get in touch and we'll name this thing after you. Anyway, I think we should wrap that up there. Thank you everyone for joining us on the live stream, on the post show.